Everyone ready? Yeah, okay, good evening everyone. This is our last session for today. Okay, Comic Fiesta is coming to a close, and our last session goes before we start. Okay, there's a rules for this panel as well. Okay, you can take pictures, but make sure there is no flashlights. And also please silence your phone to avoid disrupting the session as well. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our panelists for this session. Peppy. Of the game also, okay, and then he will be showing us. I think it's a presentation. Yeah, a presentation, and then there will be question and answers. Okay, so if you have any questions, keep it so that you can ask him later after the presentations. Yeah. Okay.
Excellent. Hi guys, welcome. It's great to see a big turnout here. We've had a few technical difficulties, so I'm kind of remotely controlling my PC, so hopefully everything will go okay. So today, I'm pretty much just going to go through how I got about starting OS, how I'm running it, all the things that have come up along the way, and hopefully just for anyone that is looking at making a game or getting into that kind of thing, hopefully I'll give you a few tips. So this is just a few images. Has anyone else seen the arcade unit yet? No. A couple of hands up there. Yeah, that's a prototype I've actually made. I made it myself with my dad. There's only 2 of them in existence, and they're currently in Japan. But maybe in the future you might see one. Okay, so where did OS start? Well, it actually started from a Nintendo DS game called OS Tatakai Oendan. How many people here have played that? Yep, a few of you. Okay, so OS Tatakai Oendan was a Japanese release of the game by a company called INIS on Nintendo DS. And it plays very similarly to OS, the standard mode. And that's where I got the idea from. So it's not really my original idea. And then there was a second game, Elite Beat Agents, which you may be more familiar with. That was a Western release of the same game. So I had a Nintendo DS at the time, and I had a flash card. I was downloading a lot of games, just because it's not about piracy, but it's about we can't actually get these games in the Western countries. It's so hard to import them. So OS Tatakai Oendan, the name appealed to me. I started playing it, and it was really fun. I used to take it to work. I worked at a convenience store at the time, so in my lunch breaks I would just go into the break room and constantly be trying to pass the last level. I think it was called Sekai no Wari or something. And it took me like 5 or 6 days of intense playing of that level to pass it. I remember at the end there was a spinner, and the spinner you had to spin really fast, and the DS screen would just get wrecked by the spinning. Yeah, so after playing that game, it was maybe 6 or 7 months later, I still played it occasionally. I picked it up, and I really wanted to put my own songs into it. I wanted to play my own music. I was going around listening to music, and I could hear these hit sounds and see the beats in my brain. So I wanted to make my own levels for it, which is why I started working on OS. So I sat down one day. I was using Microsoft XNA framework. I'm not sure how many people are here on the technical side of things, so if you know that. And I put together a prototype, and this is what it looked like. This is a song selection screen. So it's pretty bare. And that was the editor. So right from day one it did have an editor built in. And yeah, that was the first edition. That was after 24 hours of programming. So as you can see, it was actually playable. You can download that version from the OS website. I've got it up there as one of the anniversary special releases. And you can put together something pretty fast these days. There's so many frameworks out there that let you just sit down, put an idea out, and get a game working. And this was after 1 month. So you can see I've got the title screen going. I did all the design and graphics myself, because at the time I didn't know any graphics designers or anything. Yeah, so that's just a random background. That's the editor after a month. So you can see it kind of progresses a bit. And this is after 2 months. So this is when I was actually After a month or so, I released it to my friends, and they're like, "This game is really cool. You need to take this further." So I did take it further, and I took it to this level. This is when I made a public release of it, and that was 2 months after development. So I just threw it out on the internet. I didn't really advertise it or anything, and got about 300, 400 downloads. People just told their friends, a few more downloads after that. The forums are a bit active, but it was nothing special. And this is what it looked like at public release. This beat map is actually made by me, and it's still up there. It's a ranked beat map, so you can play it. It's quite shocking. But you can see after 2 months, most of the game is already there. So you may be wondering what I've done in the last 7 years then. But I think OS is a lot more than just a game. As you guys probably know, the community is huge. There's just so much in it. Yeah, so the first point at which we got some popularity was joystick.com released an article on the game. And from that point, this is what happened. So it was a sudden spike of traffic, like 20, 30 times the visitors. And from that point on, it actually stayed up at that level for quite a while. A few other sites picked up on it. And yeah, this is a longer term look at the popularity of us. So it's still growing quite rapidly. 2013 has been a really good year for us. And it's quite hard to keep up with. So the growth is completely organic. I don't go out advertising the game. People just spread it by word of mouth, which is really cool. I really like that. And yeah, never been focused on actually making it more popular. One, because I really don't need the popularity. Like, I'm doing most of the work myself, and I'm already struggling to keep up with the amount of people coming in. So as long as that's happening, I'm not looking for more players. So just a quick run through of the server infrastructure of us. How many people here are interested in the technical side of things? 1, 2, 3. Oh, quite a few. Okay, cool. Yeah, so it started off being hosted in my room for the first few weeks until that big article was released, and that was quite a panic because it couldn't handle it. Nothing was set up for that. But this is always the way, I guess. You have to start somewhere, and that's where I started. So I moved it over to a DreamHost shared account, which is really cheap. It's only like $5 a month for unlimited traffic and all this awesome stuff. They were really good. They lasted quite a while until they got really annoyed at how much traffic I was actually pushing out, sending all these beat maps to people. So they sent me a polite message saying, "We cannot host you anymore." So next on the list was Ubiquity servers, which is just it's a dedicated server host. There's so many of them out there that you can pretty much go on one of the web hosting sites and figure out which one is best for you. These guys did a good job. The only reason I switched from them is reliability wasn't really that good. They had a few downtimes. I think they actually got law enforcement's coming in and investigating their data center for some other client which is in there, and they went down for a whole 4 days with no notice or anything of what was happening. And that was the point where I switched from them. Because one of the things I focus on with all my projects is keeping them reliable. So I like to have OS up 100% if I can. It never happens, but that's my aim. So I moved to SoftLayer. SoftLayer is, they're still a dedicated server host, but they have a bigger name, they have a lot better brand. They're known for their reliability, so I looked at using them. And I'm still actually using SoftLayer to this day. Not for all my servers, but they are very reliable and very good when it comes to customer service. And this is the current server architecture. This is over the last 2 years, it's changed quite a bit. So over the years, I haven't really been interested in the whole cloud hosting thing. As far as I'm concerned, cloud just means internet. But I'm using cloud servers now, at DigitalOcean. They host SSD-based servers. And it's really easy to scale up and scale down. You can just throw new web servers up, and also they're really good if you're starting out on a new project, because it's only $5 a month for a pretty much dedicated, very fast server. Especially when you're dealing with databases, because databases need a lot of I/O, like hard disk speed. So you've got SSDs behind it, so it's really good. And then, like, I'm using Amazon for storing stuff just because it's so reliable. They offer like 99.99998% reliability, which is... Yeah, the reason I actually moved to cloud hosting is because I have a lot of hardware failures in the servers, in my dedicated servers, and when that happens, you have to rely on the data center to do everything. They're your remote hands, so you don't have any direct control, which means you're always waiting on another party, and I don't like that. I don't like that to be there. I like to have direct control as much as I can, just so I can ensure things are working. And cloud hosting means you can do that. If something goes wrong, you just shut down that host and move to another one. I'm still using SoftLayer for my dedicated servers, and Cloudflare is... Have many people heard of Cloudflare? Cloudflare is a service which protects you from attacks and that kind of thing. It's really cool. It also speeds things up magically. And a few tips on server hosting. If you're using dedicated servers, then always refresh them regularly, because they drop the prices of servers, but they never actually drop the prices of old plans. So if you just jump on a new server, you always get a cheaper price. And use the best hardware possible. That's my recommendation. Don't go for something lower, or like try and get 5 servers of low specs. Just go for the best one and run everything from it. And yeah, plan redundancy later. So you should always have backups, of course, but don't think about having like 2 web servers just because you can, or something like that. And I don't even know what I was thinking when I wrote that one. So yeah, as for the community, that's the other side of scaling. It's as you saw, it's a pretty linear rise of people. So we're lucky enough to have a lot of community helpers. It's always the case. I mean, even this convention, you've got all the volunteers helping out. Without volunteers and us, I wouldn't be able to handle anything, because there's just so many people, and like all the bitmap ranking system and the in-game chats. It would be a mess if we didn't have all these people helping out, giving their time for free. The other aspect is I try and automate whatever I can. So if I see something that can be automated, I do it, because it means there's less work for me or less work for other people, which is always a good thing. And that's what I just said, yeah. So for things like if people wanted, say, username changes, originally that was being done manually, so I made a system where people could change their own username once, that kind of thing. And from a data perspective, there's a whole heap of data behind us. The replays alone, like every song stores a replay to the server, which people can watch. But if I stored every single play ever, that would be terabytes or petabytes. I don't know how high it would go, but a lot of data. So you have to really decide how much you're willing to store of this. And I made that decision to be the top 40 scores on each song at the moment. I think it's top 50 now. I increased that. So you have to make some sacrifices in how much data you're going to allow the user to access in order to actually be able to handle it at the back end. And yeah, in the game client, I mean, has everyone here played OS? Has anyone not played OS? Okay, a couple. So in game, you can actually go onto the online users panel, and you can see every user that's currently online. You can see what they're doing, you can see what they're playing, you can see who they're interacting with, and it updates in real time. So that's actually starting to become a lot of data, and as a result, I've had to change it a bit, and hopefully none of you have noticed, but it loads data only as you need it now. Before, you'd get everyone's current status coming in, but now it kind of detects where you're looking at and where you're about to look at, and pre-fetches all the data from the users. So if you've got your friends up on the screen, you'll see their real-time status always. But if you don't have them up, or if you're looking at someone else, then it's not actually loading any of that data. So you have to kind of make the server side of things smart enough to serve only what the user needs in order to allow the user to download the least data they can, especially in countries where, I guess there are still some countries where people are on like 56k modems, because I hear from them a lot. They complain about lag when they're playing multiplayer games, that kind of thing. And yeah, the same goes for the song select list. Every time you load us on a new PC, it actually pulls in all your records for every song that is currently on that PC. So like the S ranking here, that all loads in. And like I actually do that in a pretty interesting way, I guess. It will do it in the background, but in small chunks, and only when you're not doing anything else. So it's a very background operation, and most of the time, because you're not really moving to a new PC often, you won't actually notice it. But and the other thing is, if you come to a PC after a while and you set records on another one, so if you're using two different PCs, it does update them, but in small chunks and only after a certain period of time. So there's a lot of little conditions which help to reduce the load at the client side and the server side. The other thing is, over time, I've been trying to optimize the interface. So back in 2012 or so, we had this on the left, the special mode screen, which allowed you to choose any of the 3 special modes, which were not the OS mode, so Taiko, Kashabeat, Osmania at that time. But over time, it's kind of evolved where every mode is equal. It's no longer their special cool little features of the game. They're actually a full-on game mode. So I actually got rid of that special modes menu, and now it's just in song select itself, that kind of thing. Always, I like to think about these issues and make the game as intuitive to play as possible. So kind of like evolving the game with the community, how the community plays the game, what they prefer. So I was going to show a bit of around OS on my PC, but I don't know if this will work.
We don't have a seat. There's a chair here.
Okay, I just wanted to show a couple of things which I've been working on recently which aren't actually released yet. That might be kind of cool. And I also, this is the test build of OS, which you can download from the updater if you're a supporter of the game. And you can actually get early access to all the, oh, this isn't the test build. Give me a second. So I like to, when I'm working on OS, I like to let everyone in on the development side of things as well. I like to release things as soon as possible, even if they're not completely finished. And I do that via the test build, and also occasionally I'll do live streams on Twitch, just of my development. So if you like watching people code to cool music, then come watch me on Twitch, because there's quite a few people that come. Like I've been getting like 120 viewers for some reason. Just watching code on the screen. Yeah, so this is the latest feature I've been working on, which is an options menu that is accessible anywhere in the game. I've really wanted to do this for a long time. When I watch players playing OS, like I often go on Twitch and I'm watching other players, and I like to see how they use the game, and quite often I see people changing the options constantly, so I wanted to allow the options to be changed anywhere in the game. So if you're like at song select or in the middle of the game, I haven't finished it yet, but you can pretty much bring up the options and then you can search for what you want. And just toggle options here. And so there's also like some options that you'll see they're grayed out. And grayed out options can only be accessed from the title screen, just because it's stuff like changing the resolution of the game. So you bring up the full options and then everything becomes accessible. So, sorry about that. yeah, this is the kind of thing I'm working on at the moment. That's for the game client. There's a lot of other things I'm working on, but they're not really that interesting to see on screen. Also, it's snowing. Has everyone seen the snow? Yeah, so that's pretty much that. So a quick overview of the technology behind OS. I won't go too deep into this because I know a lot of you probably don't care that much. But the client is .NET based, so it's written in C# completely, which is, a lot of people tell me that's a weird choice for writing a game in, but at the time, like when I started working on the game, I was trying out the Microsoft framework, as I said previously, and it's working really well. I mean, I really like C# as a programming language. It borrows the best from all the other languages out there, in my opinion. It's very easy to write. It's very easy to get into for beginners as well. And yeah, I started using XNA. Since then, XNA has actually been deprecated by Microsoft. It's no longer being developed. And even before that, they started moving it towards releasing games for the Xbox and the Zune. Does anyone remember the Zune? The little Microsoft audio player? They started moving it towards releasing apps for that. So I'm like, this isn't what I need anymore. So I'm not using XNA anymore. There's some pieces of OS which work on it, like just for the handling to draw to the screen. But there's OpenGL support, and that's going in the direction of making it available on more operating systems as well. On the server side of things, I use Linux servers for everything, pretty much, running Debian and Windows 2012 for things like the game server, because the game server shares a lot of code with the game itself, and therefore it runs on .NET, which runs best on Windows. And for database, I use MySQL, Memcache for caching, PHP 5.5, pretty standard setup. And services I use, I mean, there's a lot of different services which I rely on from other people. At first, I used to write things myself, and then I realized it's a lot easier to just rely on other people for these kinds of things. So GitHub for code management, Cloudflare for accelerating website protection, that kind of thing, caching at a higher level. AWS for storage, Amazon Web Services, and also for virtual machines at points. Datadog is really good for monitoring servers. You can get such detail, and they also let you make cool dashboards which go on screen. So I've got a monitor sitting in my office that just has like all these OS stats in cool colors. It's really fun to watch all day. Google Docs. I use Google Docs a lot for working with other people on my team, and also things like in the in-game chat, there's the frequently asked questions like the bot commands. That's all handled via Google Docs. It automatically imports data from there, so anyone can go in and update the questions and answers, and also localizations from the game are all based on Google Documents. So we have a big team of volunteers from the community which go out there and translate OS into their own language. I think we've got like 30 or 40 different translations completed now. It's a really fast way to get things done. Tumblr, I use Tumblr a lot for like the news feeds on the page. It's all integrated with the site. Last.fm for, it's just integration for now playing, and a few other services. Zendesk is a help desk service. Pingdom for monitoring. PayPal for payments. How much is to connect servers together, and Twitch is just for streaming. So what makes Oz awesome for me? Why I'm still here after 7 years working on it? I really like the fact that I can run it as a free-to-play game without ads. I don't think there's many of them out there, and I'm really proud of that. I get a lot of people telling me that I should be putting ads on the site, and I know myself I'd be getting 5 to 10 times the amount of money if I just put a single ad banner on the top, but I'm not going to do it, because I really hate ads. In fact, I think YouTube changed the way they load their ads recently, and it's not being blocked by my ad blocker. I've stopped watching YouTube since then. Has anyone else had that? Like, get the same ads every time? It's quite painful. the other thing is, I can take it in any direction I like. I listen to the community a lot for ideas for the game, and we have a feature request forum which I read every feature request and I make sure I take people's viewpoints into perspective. But at the end of the day, I do run the game how I like to run it. And I think most people agree with how I run it. There's a few out there that don't, but I generally try and convince them or work with them. Yeah, unlimited possibilities. So if you have looked at the feature request forum, you'll see that people have so many ideas. And in a lifetime, I'm not going to be able to finish implementing all those ideas, but I will try my best. And yeah, amazing community. I mean, there's so much that comes out of this community. I can't even begin to list all the cool things we've had over the years, but from the beatnuts people make to some of the threads or ideas that have come from the forum, just from groups of people getting together and working on a project, whether it be OS related or something else, just random artwork or graphics or some cool animation. There's a lot of awesome stuff which goes on, and whenever I see something new that comes out of the community that blows my mind, I'm always really happy. I'm glad other people can be inspired by the game and make something cool. So for people looking at starting to make a game, see, I find it weird to talk about myself as a game developer because in a lot of ways I don't think of us as a game. I think of it as running a huge web app, because there is the game part of it, but there's just so much community aspects or different things on top that I don't get to work on the game itself that much. And the game, it's already solid enough that I don't need to work on the game. It's more bringing these things that people have wanted, like stats for their profiles or ways to interact with each other, more new chat features, this kind of thing. New multiplayer is one thing I would like to work a lot more on. But yeah, where was I? So yeah, first thing you should do is find a framework you're comfortable with. So there's things like Game Maker out there. I think Game Maker is probably the easiest way to get into game development. But find a framework, that's the first thing you need to do. Don't worry about graphics too much. Use stick figures, use paint to make graphics. Do whatever you need to do. Just make something move on the screen. Make something interactive. Make something you can actually play with and get the feel for. There are a lot of free resources on the internet. If you need music, you can search for Creative Commons music or Creative Commons graphics. There's quite a few forums out there with artists that are just looking for work to do, just for work experience, so you can quite often get free art made. There's just so many people on the internet at the moment willing to help out. And yeah, always try new things. So you may be recycling an idea like I've done. I mean, I'm not claiming OS is my own idea, but I do claim that I've made it as customizable as possible. You can skin the game, you can make new masks for it, you can make animations in the background for these maps. Yeah. You can do a lot of awesome stuff, and people have done a lot of awesome stuff. Some of the storyboards out there, which are the animations in the background, are just really amazing. We started showcasing them in the newsfeed if you're catching up with that. And yeah, that's pretty much what I just said. Don't copy ideas, copy concepts. So use an existing concept if you need to, but don't have the other game on the side and copy bit for bit. I've had some people do that with us. There's a few other games out there, even I think there's one at the moment which is being developed, and they're just doing that. They're copying bit by bit, rather than looking at making new things. And I don't really like that. I think people should try. I'd like to see other OS-like games, but they should be different. They should go out of their way to make people want to play them, rather than just copy what is out there. And yeah, I said Game Maker is one of the frameworks you can start with, but if you're looking for a more technical thing, I would recommend these ones. You've got Unity. Unity is really easy to get into. It's got a GUI. It's .NET. It's C# in the back, so you've got a really nice coding language, or it's JavaScript if you prefer that, to fall back on when you want to actually make code for it. But you can put together a game in Unity or even Unreal Engine, all in the UI. And you can get something working really fast, like in a day or two you can have a FPS or any kind of game you really want to make. HTML5 is another really good option these days. If you're a web designer, web developer, and you want to get into game development, then just try doing something with HTML5. You don't need to use the canvas, but that's probably the best way to do it. You can get 3D graphics happening in the browser these days really easily, and it also means it will run on any device, including your phones or tablets. These other two as well, Unreal and Unity, will run on pretty much anything. And OpenTK and STL are really native graphic frameworks, so if you're more into the coding side of things, these are the kind of ones which I would recommend. So that's the end of what I had to say. Thanks a lot for listening. We've got quite a bit of time, I think, for questions, so ask away.
Any questions from attendees? This is a great opportunity to ask maybe a game developer or something somehow. Yeah.
Do you have any experience with coding before you start doing this project?
Did I have experience with coding before us? I did. I started coding when I was 4, I guess, 4 or 5. I had my mum. Let me explain. My mum actually bought my dad a Commodore 64, which is a really old PC. You plugged it into the TV, and it was like this keyboard which had the PC built into it, for his birthday. And my dad didn't really use it, but I was always fiddling with it. So my mum would sit down with me, and we would write the programs up in the instruction manual that came with the PC. So at that point, like, you got in the instruction manual, it's actually got sample code to write up, because at that point there weren't really many programs out there. So I started by just writing code at that point. I didn't really know how to write new programs, but when I was like 6 or 7, I started writing really simple, like, text-based games on the Commodore 64, just with a few friends. And from there, I used a program called Click and Play, which later became the Games Factory, which was a really good way to make games when you... back then, you didn't have all these frameworks which I mentioned previously to write games in. It was very hard to get started. So the Games Factory and Click and Play, they were really, really good apps. You could just like put things on the screen, similar to how you storyboard in OS, I guess. You drag sprites to the screen, then there was this checkerboard where you could set actions for what happens when sprites hit sprites and things like that. Yeah, so that's about where I stopped making games, actually. Primary school, high school, I made a few games. After that, I studied IT. I studied computer science at university, and worked on a few projects there. And then in the final year of uni, I had to get a part-time job just as work experience. So I was working at a small IT company, web development company in Australia. And from there, that became my full-time job. So for 3 or 4 years, I was working on websites, web apps, and also that led on to iPhone development. I did quite a bit of that. And yeah, that's where I started off. Halfway through that job, I started working on us, and then gradually I stopped working on that job and started working more on us. So it went from full-time to part-time to contract to nothing.
Okay, so I guess there's another guy behind there who will raise up your hands first.
Okay, so I have a question. Okay, you mentioned just now that you don't really like people copying ideas, right? So, but we are looking at it they are happening daily, every day. So, what's your opinion on this? I just would like to know.
Well, even like copying ideas themselves isn't so bad, but like copying graphics, things like that. If you're using graphics from another game, that's kind of crossing the line, because the graphics are kind of another person's work. And also, if you take an idea, like say I was making a new OS. I'm not the OS developer. I was making a new version. Rather than taking the title screen and putting a big OS in the center and having the menu come out as it is at the moment, and having a similar song select, and maybe even the scoring system, things like that, I would definitely change them. Like, I really don't like the OS scoring system at the moment. It's far too combo based. I'd like to see more accuracy in it, but it's kind of too late into the global rankers would be totally screwed up if I change it right now. But things like that, I think you should take an idea, then find what was wrong in the old implementation and fix it, or make it better, find ways to improve.
I would like to ask, I really love your game, and I introduced my mom to the game, and I got to say, she really liked it, but the problem is, she has very bad reflexes or very bad rhythm, so she tends to miss. And that made me have a D in my tutorial. And I was very sad. But in that case, how would you balance the game or optimize the game for a newcomer to your very nice game?
Getting a D in the tutorial, that's hard to fix. I think that map only has like 4 hit circles or something, doesn't it?
She didn't really panic. How about she panicked a lot?
Yeah, I actually introduced my mum to the iOS version of OS Stream, which is another app that I've made. And it took her a while to get used to it, but she was persistent, and now she's an expert at it. So I'd say with anything like OS, I mean, you guys all know as players, you just keep playing and you'll get better and better. So I think even for people that panic or people that have bad reflexes, if you keep trying, you definitely improve.
Okay.
Tell your mum good luck.
I guess the guy behind there is the first one, no?
Up the...
Yeah, at the back.
Now I got 2 questions.
Okay.
So my friends have been complaining to me about the beat map approval system.
Mhm.
A lot of good unranked beat maps get shadowed and put into the graveyard because they're not by popular makers. So do you have any, are you planning any improvements onto that system? And another question, are you working on anything other than OSU?
Okay, so the first question, the beatmap approval system is currently handled by a small team of people which are volunteering their time. In order for a map to get ranked, which means it can have scores on it, those people have to approve the map, and 2 of them need to approve, and then it goes into a ranked status. So the issue that we're having recently is there's not a big enough team there, and we can't really make that team bigger because of logistics. It's just too hard to handle a larger team. We've tried it before, and we had to scale the numbers back down because people just don't agree and there's too much confusion going on. So as you asked if I'm working on anything there, I am actually working on a replacement system for that, and it's going quite well. It's not finished yet, but it's going to move the responsibility from the limited size team to the community. So how many people here are familiar with Stack Overflow, the tech site? Yeah, Stack Overflow is a forum site where you ask questions and people post answers. But it's very community moderated, so the whole site is run only by community members. And the way that works is there's upvoting and downvoting. As a person upvotes and other people upvote and their upvotes are seen as good, then that person's reputation increases. So I'm looking at making a similar system where people can go and check maps, and if they do a good job, then they will get more reputation. I'm not sure what I'm going to call it. It won't be reputation, but it'll be a cool term. And as the reputation goes up, they're going to be able to rank maps. So community members will be able to rank maps. I think it'll require like 3 or 4 people, but it does mean that we're going to hopefully increase the amount of maps which get ranked and get a lot more community community feedback as to which maps should be ranked. So all these maps which have been left out that people actually enjoy playing, hopefully people will jump on them and try and see them ranked. I hope to release that in the next month or 2, all going well. And the other question was, am I working on anything else? Not really. How many people here have used Push? A few out there? Yeah? Yeah, did you know I made Push? Yeah, okay. A lot of people don't know that and they just get freaked out when I say that, but I haven't worked on Push recently. Push is kind of running itself. But I do have a lot of other ideas of what I'd like to do, I just don't have the time and I'd rather focus on OS at the moment.
to Steam?
Okay. This is a question that gets asked a lot actually. Should I submit OS to Steam? And as I said before, I'm not looking to increase the player count too fast. Therefore, I don't. And also, like the main reasons for submitting to Steam are you get the achievements and the built-in update system, and what else, like leaderboards, the Steam leaderboards, that kind of thing. And I already have all these features in OS, so I figure if I put it on Steam, the only thing I'm going to get for it is it being listed on the Steam listing. And I don't see much benefit in that. I mean, if you want OS to be in Steam, you can already add it as a custom app, so it can be in your listing. But I don't really want to release it on Steam for the time being.
So there are lots of players in China, but the people know your game, they didn't know you. Have you ever think about you do such a presentation in China?
Yeah. If I had an opportunity to talk in China, I'd love to do it. This is the first time I've actually been called to talk anywhere, so this is I made this presentation last night. I actually wanted to ask.
We're very fortunate to have him. Yeah, we're very fortunate to have him here today.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I wanted to add a lot more in there, but I think it was enough. Yeah, I would love to talk at more places. I really enjoyed this event and being able to talk here, so.
Any plans to mass produce the OS tablet?
Mass producing OS tablet. I am already looking at that. So I know I mean, I made 1,000 units thinking I'm not sure if I'm going to sell these 1,000 units. Because that was the minimum order quantity I could possibly get made. And it also meant, because I'm handling the logistics myself, they were shipped from China in a freight ship, and I went to the docks and picked them up in a truck and stuff. And it was a really interesting process, but the truck wouldn't fit any more than 1,000 tablets. So I really need to figure out how to get that process optimized before I order too many more. That said, I do want, hopefully in January or February, I hope to have enough that I can start taking orders from everyone rather than releasing them in small batches. I'm really sorry about only bringing 30 with me to here. I didn't expect this many people to actually want to buy one. And that's all that fit in my suitcase at the time, so that's why I only brought 30. And I already have pre-orders for 500, and there's a few others taken up by competitions and stuff like that. You had a question? Someone else here? No?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't like this first. Yeah, you first. Okay, I should see you.
For also, what updates do you plan to implement, and do you have any plans for the next demo, if there is?
So the next update is going to be the options screen, which I showed you earlier. After that, I have a website renewal project running, because the website has been the same for the last 4 years, and it's getting a bit old. I usually don't go out of my way to redesign a website until I feel like I don't want to look at it anymore, and I really don't want to look at the current site anymore. So it's about the time to make a new one, and that's happening in the background. New game modes. I think the next one that would be on the list is going to be a Toho mode. And I wouldn't get too excited because I don't know when it's going to happen, but we've done a bit of testing. I've never released anything, but it has been tested in the background, and it works quite well. It plays really nicely, having the hit sounds in time with the explosions and stuff. So yeah, maybe in the next year or so you'll see a Toho mode.
Sir, I have two small questions. Now also because of got many copyrighted songs, so did you get the MCN notices often? And apart from this question, one small question. Apart from developing games and codes, did you get any jobs aside from this game? And if you're not yet married, when did you get married?
Any questions?
Okay, Okay, so the first one is DMCA, copyright issues with us. So yeah, for those who aren't too familiar with how copyright works, in a similar way to YouTube, I operate under the DMCA law, which means that users are responsible for their own content, putting it as simply as possible. Because my servers run in the US, it's under US law. And that means that if a content provider decides that they want their content taken down from the site, they send a DMCA notice to me, and within 24 hours I need to respond to that by taking down the content. And it's happened a few times, it has. It means I take down the download link. I've decided that in that case I leave up the score rankings and everything, so you can actually still play the levels without the music. You can load it into OS just with the hit sounds and like play with no music, or you can get the music yourself and you can load it in. But that's what happens when there's a copyright issue, and it has happened. I think the last one was Skrillex. Everyone will know that because all the Skrillex songs just vanished, which is an interesting one because Skrillex actually said that he is fine with anyone pirating his music. He said that previously, anyone who can't afford it, just go out and pirate my music. So I think it was actually his record label that has filed for the DMCA, and I don't think he has much control over that. But don't blame Skrillex for that. The second question was, what was the first part?
Apart from games and course development, did you get any job aside?
Yeah, so as I said, in going out of university, I was working at an IT company. We ran an ebook store. That's my only experience with doing technical work outside of us. Before that, during high school and university, I built PCs for people. Just put all the parts in and sold them. And I made a few websites just for community things. But that's about as far as I got, apart from us. And as for when I'm going to get married, I have no idea. I think to get married you have to have a girlfriend first, and I'm not that far at the moment, so...
Yeah, maybe the girls here would be interested.
Okay, any more questions?
Any more questions for attendees? Yeah, maybe I will ask one question. One most common questions available for every panel. Okay, it's what inspired you to create also? What's your inspiration in the first place?
As I said earlier on, it was just I played the Osataka Oendan, and I just wanted to customize it. I wanted to be able to do more with it than it was already out there, so I did it. It's kind of like sometimes you see things that exist and you just want to change them, and I felt like in this case I could change it, so I gave it a try and ended up here.
I want to say thank you because I always wanted to download Skrillex's songs, but I can't do it now. So now, thank you for telling what happened.
No worries. You can actually, if you like his music, then go buy it on iTunes and load the MP3 into the folder, and you can still play it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So if you I guess making something like us, it makes it seem like I don't respect copyrights or that kind of thing, but I do. I respect artists' copyrights, and I like artists to actually make the money that they deserve. So I buy all my music. I don't have any pirated music or software or anything like that. I used to before I could afford to buy things, but after I have the money, then I go out of my way to support artists when I can. And I would like to drive us in that direction. I would like to add download links where you can buy the artist's work if you like them, but I've avoided doing that so far just because the artist might take it wrong. They might think that I'm trying to get referral money from selling their work. So in the cases where artists do ask for DMCA takedowns, I try to work with them and see if they want to do some kind of deal to promote themselves in the game, that kind of thing. I really want to bring artists in if I can. And with the recent, you may have seen the beatmap competitions where people can go out and map the competition, they'll win a NOS tablet, that kind of thing. All the artists which I'm using there are either Creative Commons or people that I know which I'm working with, and either paying them to use their music or giving them really good advertising if they're not a big artist.
Any more questions from attendees? Any more? Yeah. If there is really none and no questions from attendees, we'll have Pepe to wrap this up. Yeah. to say a few words to wrap this up? Oh, yeah.
Well,
Okay, good. Good.
Lucky lost.
If also is a free-to-play game, how do you make an income from it?
Okay, how do I make an income from a free-to-play game? A lot of people would call it like in-app purchases, where I have the supported tag. And supported tag is an optional, I guess it's a purchase or subscription or whatever you want to call it. A lot of people still call it donating. I don't like to use the term donating because I'm not a charity, and well, like when you actually get into the accounting side of things, if you use the term donate, then it gets really iffy because they're like, are you a registered charity or what's going on here? So it's not a donation, but I want people to feel like that way, that they're not buying it because they're getting extra perks or anything, even though you do get quite a few extras, and I would like to add some more on there as time goes on. I don't want to add things in there that mean you have to actually pay to play the game or pay to be good at the game or pay to get an advantage. So the number of people that are supporters, I think it's way under 1% of users. So it's not that many people, but because the community is so big at it, it's enough to cover the servers, cover the people that are helping me out, and yeah, make enough money to get by. Okay.
I want to ask that, did you make those special mode like flashlight or anything else like the special mode in?
Do I have plans to make more?
Yes, and also that, did you plan to open the score cap of Osmania? Because currently it's like 1 million is the maximum cap of Osmania.
So the first question was new mods for the game, so like flashlight and hard rock. Yeah, there's been quite a few suggestions of mods to add, but a lot of them, the first thing I think of when adding mods is, can people cheat? Because a lot of the mods like flashlight, they can just record their mouse movements and then play it back. So I am constantly thinking of good ideas of how to change the game around. But more than mods, I think game modes are the best way to do that. If you have any awesome suggestions for mods, then go post them in the feature requests and I'll read it, and if it's really good, I'll think about implementing it. But I haven't seen any out there so far which have been mind-blowingly good. Things like reverse flashlight, where only the center of the mouse is covered and you see everything else. So stuff like that. You can already do that by making a custom skin with just a really big black cursor. So I don't have any ideas for mods right now, but maybe in the future we'll see something come up. The other thing is implementing a new mod at the moment means figuring out how to implement it in every game mode. And as you may have noticed with Osmania, some of the mods don't work that well in it. So there's a lot of work behind adding new mod these days. Also the scoring multipliers and that stuff is really iffy with a lot of people. And the other question was...
did you plan to open the score cap of Osmania?
Oh, the score cap of Osmania. Okay, Osmania's score system, for those who don't know, is limited at 1 million points, and mods don't affect this. And that was actually my idea to do it that way. A lot of the other games do the same thing, but they don't have mods, I guess, so it's different in that way. Rather than changing the scoring, I would rather have separate scoring charts for each mod. So, like, I think the 1 million limit is really good because you can easily compare yourself with other players, and it's always a goal you're aiming for. Like with Ostat mode, you never know what score is the maximum score in a map. It could be 5 million, it could be 250 million. So I like the 1 million cap, and that's carried over from like Beatmania and stuff, which has 200,000. They all have these set limits. Ubeat has 1 million. So I don't think that will be changing. But I would like to separate mod plays out somehow, because mods aren't really rewarded at the moment.
So I want to ask questions. How the also mascot to be produced, and if I have any chance, can we can introduce more of the mascots, like add more.
So new mascots?
Yeah.
The mascot was originally made by a guy called Sanmaru, I think. Sarumaru. You can probably find him on DB now. He uploaded the original art on there. And that was back in 2008 or so. And the design has really evolved over the years just by how the community is drawing Pippi. I didn't choose the name Pippi, for those who are wondering. That was chosen by that guy, Sarumaru. And as for adding more mascots, yeah, definitely. We were discussing some of the Oz players which were hanging out at the booth, the Oz booth earlier on. We would like to make like an Ozmania character, Ozmania mascot, which is like a guy, just so we have like a guy, so guys can cosplay as him and stuff. Yes. Yeah, so the question was hard rock and hidden mod multiplayers may not be as fair as they should be because of the skill difference involved. And I completely agree. Like, hard rock is a lot harder than hidden. Hidden is just about memorizing things, and hard rock actually makes the game a hell of a lot harder. And even more so, double time. Double time speeds up the map 1.5 times, but not only that, it decreases the timing windows by 1.5 times, so it's actually, you need to be more accurate and you need to play faster. So I think double time is actually, it should be 1.5 times or something crazy high. So I would like to change these, but as I said earlier, the global scores are there and people are really fond of their scores. So I'm looking at other ways of doing this, and how many are familiar with PPV2, like the new ranking system I'm working on? I'm sure the term has come up in places. So the overall ranking at the moment is based on performance points, and the new version of that actually defines the mod multiplayers separately from the scores you see on the global scoring in a lot more fair way, like the way I think it should have been done from the start. So for overall scoring, I think it's going to look a lot better. And then for like individual maps, for the rankings in the maps, I want to split out the mod-based ranking from the no mod ranking, so every mod has its own ranking, because I think that's fairer overall. So you're always playing against people who are using hidden if you're using hidden, that kind of thing. Because comparing these mods with each other just doesn't work. Everyone has their own idea of which one's harder to play. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I take a picture of you?
Right now?
Yeah, that will go at the end of the session.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the session. Yes.
I wanted to ask, are you planning on updating the wiki regarding about the Catch the Beat mode? There's currently lots of legends from there, and they are asking about this. So I'm
The wiki page?
the wiki page. Such like Kenji or something, they requested me to ask it. So
the wiki is there so people can edit it, so you can actually update it yourself if you'd like to. I personally don't update those pages anymore, but like, it's up to you guys to get together and actually go out and do that. So, get a group together and just write something up or figure out how you'd like the page to look and then fix it up. Because I'm pushing more and more to linking everything to the wiki rather than having content on the site itself. Because managing content myself just means it gets too outdated. And if it's on the wiki, there's always people that can take over my job or my team's job and update it for us. So the question was about Ostroid, which is the Android release of Os, and I don't actually develop that. It's made by a couple of guys. I think they're Polish or Russian. I haven't had much to do with that, sadly. They have, like, I've given them help with when they've needed it, but they're pretty busy themselves, and I don't think they've given the project enough love. It doesn't run so well, and I've only seen it played a few times, but every time I've seen it, I've just like tried to look away. I have released Stream for iOS. How many people here have tried Stream? Yeah, quite a few. So, Stream actually runs on Android as well, but only on some devices. So I would like to release it on Android with specific device support as soon as possible. I'm not sure when that will happen, and I can't promise anything there because I'm still focusing most of my time on the PC version. But I know there is a huge amount of people wanting to play OS on their smartphones just because it's kind of moving to that, smartphones, tablets. No one's really using their PC anymore. but probably a lot of you have a PC to play OSC. Yeah, so I'd like to get Ostream over there, and then you may be wondering, like, you can't load maps into Ostream. Well, I'm going to allow maps to be loaded into Ostream for the PC version, so you'll be seeing that as well in the near future. Currently, Ostream is completely licensed music, which I actually went out and did deals with artists myself to get the music in. So that was kind of a trial to see how how approaching from that angle would work. I just wanted to try doing all the licensing stuff and see what's involved there, just so I had the knowledge, and also now I have a good, it's a small bit, it's a good collection of music which I can use, I have rights to use, if I was going to, say, release us in an arcade or something like that.
In your opinion, what is your favorite bitmap and what is the hardest bitmap do you think?
For the hardest one, I can't actually say because I don't really play the hard ones, but I know Big Black is pretty far up there. That just scares me. I think it does go harder. Like, you have the tag 4 maps, right, which are meant to be played by 4 players, and you have people trying to play them at just 1 player, and that's just crazy. It's not even worth factoring into a difficulty scale because it's beyond human. And yet we still have humans playing them. My favourite map, that's a really hard one. It's probably changed over the years. Recently, the Our City map Gold, which was featured in the storyboard showcase, I found that really nice. I can probably bring it up. I'll play it in the background because it's a really awesome storyboard. It's subtle but really adds to the map. And it's also a really fun map to play. I prefer a lot of the older style maps, like back in 2009, 2010, just because I can actually play them. The newer maps, they're just getting so hard that I have trouble. Yeah, so just watch that in the background. Just notice the... Wait, is the storyboard even playing? I think it might be disabled. This is another new feature I'm working on, which is the ability to fast forward. Okay, the storyboard isn't going to play, but anyway, check that map out because it's really quite fun. I'll quickly show you this feature because it's not completely working, but I think it's not going to work now. It's kind of temperamental. It works and then it just completely stops. Yeah, okay. Not today. Any more questions?
We are regarding back to the Toho game mode.
Yep.
How will the scoring work?
I have no idea. I'll probably have a look at how Toho's scoring works, like with the grazing points and stuff, and do something similar. But yeah, when we get to that, I have to make the mode first. When I release new game modes, I usually release it without scoring, just so you can play along and then build up on that. So if you're looking out for that kind of stuff, then make sure you switch to the test build of us, because I usually update that every day or two with new features or new bug fixes. It may be unstable at times, but if you don't mind that, then check it out.
We can have one more questions.
One more?
I believe. We have 10 minutes, so yeah.
We've got 10 more minutes.
So now 3 more questions will be fine as well.
Don't hold back.
He raised up his hands first, right?
I just want to ask, how much minimum of how much do we need to become a supporter?
How much does it cost?
Yeah.
I don't know how much it is in ringgits. It's like $4 a month, but it goes. Hey?
Oh, continue. Sorry.
But it goes down as you get longer. Like you get a 50% discount if you do a year. So I think what 12 ringgits or something. About that. I'm wondering if I should probably change the prices out over here because like there's inflation and stuff which you have to consider when you make pricing, and I've never changed the pricing of it, so probably getting a good deal as time goes on. Yeah.
How does also affect your life?
It's kind of destroyed my life. Like the last 7 years I haven't had much of a social life and I haven't played games anymore. I used to be a pretty big gamer. I don't play games anymore, I just make games or maintain games, whatever you want to call it. But on the other side of things, I get to go to events like this, and this is really awesome. So it's definitely changed my life, not necessarily in a bad way, but probably, yeah. My life isn't a normal life anymore. I don't sleep that much because whenever I sleep, I feel like Oz doesn't sleep with me. So I wake up and I have like 20, 30 emails waiting which I need to respond to and all this like other stuff which goes on. Sometimes the servers go down in the middle of the night, so I've always got my phone like with a really loud alarm sound whenever something happens. So I usually sleep in really short blocks as a result, like 2 or 3 hours at a time. But I'm not complaining. Yep.
Do you have a plan on releasing also on other gaming device?
Other gaming devices like consoles?
Yes.
Do I want to release also on other gaming devices? The Steam, what's the Steam box? Is it the Steam box? Is that what they call it? I would like to see it on there. I would like it to be able to run on there. So it may not be distributed via Steam, but things like that. I see a good future in that device because it's open source hardware, which means it's not limited to Steam's release, but anyone can jump on board and make their own PC, which will run all the games for it and support.
What about Ouya?
Which one?
Ouya.
Ouya. Ouya. I tried Ouya once, and it was kind of depressing. It didn't run anything too well. Like the frame rates in games were low, and I felt like it wasn't powerful enough. It could probably run OS. That said, like if I do an Android release, it's obviously going to run on Ouya. So maybe you'll see OS stream on Ouya in the future. Is Ouya big over here?
Sorry?
Is Ouya big over here? Like, are a lot of people using it? No?
Not yet.
Yeah, one of my friends that works in the same office as me had one, so we were trying it out and we weren't really impressed with it. Maybe it might change in the future as they upgrade the actual OS. Like the OS itself wasn't even running at 60 frames a second, which felt a bit dodgy. Like all the menus and stuff were jerky. It just felt a bit weird. Like as soon as you venture out of the little sandbox they've set up for you, you end up in like standard vanilla Android, and it just doesn't feel like a gaming console anymore. It's like you're using a smartphone. So I think if they fix that, I'm not sure, maybe they've done that already because it's been a few months since I've tried it, but that's what I think of Ouya.
Any more questions? Time's running out. Maybe you have questions to regret. Okay.
Maybe know what is the character in the wallpaper.
The current.
Oh, that's really anything.
I didn't realize my wallpaper was showing. This is my current to-do list. There was a quick jotted note last night, which is the new folder I made on my desktop. The wallpaper? I don't know. It's something from Pixiv. I just like browse Pixiv, and this is one of the images on there. I really like sketched kind of artwork. I don't know where it's from, and I don't know who the artist is. I could probably find out if you come up after.
What is your impression about Comic Fiesta?
Comic Fiesta? It's amazing. It's the biggest convention I've been to so far. I used to volunteer at a convention in Australia, in Western Australia, where I was born and lived. And that's about 4,000 people come to that. So that was my biggest experience of a convention until now. And yeah, I'm really impressed. It's run so smoothly and the venue's so awesome. The level of art here is like blowing me away. Some of the stuff you see down in the doujinshi booths, it's definitely up on par with the Japanese stuff. I go to Comic Fiesta a lot, and the other thing is it's really easy to walk around here. Like, you can actually browse what people have done. In Comic Fiesta, it's so crowded that you're just like pushed around. You can't actually stop and browse through the work. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
What are your top games of 2013?
Top games?
Yeah.
Oh shoot. I don't know if I've played anything that came out in 2013. I'd have to think about it, but usually I watch games, like on YouTube I watch playthroughs rather than play them. I usually just search for like a silent playthrough of the game and play it on the side while I'm coding or whatever, because I don't really have the time to sit through a game and play it. I just like watching games for the storylines, that kind of thing. But if you're willing to go back quite a few years earlier, my favourite game of all time is Rainbow Six Vegas 2. Has anyone here played it? You should, if you enjoy like tactical shooters, then that is by far the best game out there in my opinion, just from replay value, because me and my friends play through it cooperative, and we play it like 3 or 4 times a year through every mission, and it's still as much fun as it was back then.
Yeah.
Okay, one more question. One more last question. Yeah?
Since you're a game developer, right, how would you encourage people or inspire people to move towards game development industry?
How would I inspire people to consider the game development industry?
I mean, to move to be joining the game development industry. Like how you?
I don't have much experience with like the game development industry as a whole. Like, I often go to game development events and I kind of feel out of place because I'm mostly doing stuff myself, and it doesn't feel like an industry to me. But I'd say like most people that get into the game development industry already know that they want to be there, and I definitely have some words for people that actually want to go into the industry, and that's, don't be too focused on like getting a job as a game developer. There's a lot of skills you can pick up from working in just any IT company doing web development, server management, like logistics, that kind of thing, infrastructure. I think you should like have wider horizons and not aim to become a game dev straight away, because yeah, everything you learn in the whole IT industry is related to games. Like, games may have this like pretty picture of a 3D game with like bloom and all this stuff at the front, but in the back there's all these systems working, all these systems which are boring old ID systems, which when you get a game developer job you're probably going to end up doing at the start. Like, as a junior game dev, you're probably going to be doing something quite menial or boring, not what you actually wanted to do. So for people who wanted to instantly get into like the awesome thrill of making a new game or something, I'd recommend making the game yourself, like I have. Like, just find an idea and work on that. If you're actually looking to get into industry working for another company, then yeah, if you fail at first, then don't like get stuck with that as your only option. Try some other things first, and wait until you have a bit more knowledge about things in general, and then try again.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Peppy, for coming.
Thanks a lot.
Any last comments, maybe? Any last comments, or maybe to your fans here?
I just keep being awesome.
Okay. Okay.